Welcome to the Raven Space on YouTube. My name is Jason, and this is Raven Space Mailbag, where we answer your questions about the Baltimore Ravens. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'm excited. We have a great show. Please subscribe to the Raven Space on YouTube for the best Baltimore Ravens content on the internet. Also, please do not forget to share this video. It helps us grow. And comment your question in the comment section below, and we'll use your question either on our next Mailbag episode or as the question on our Raven Space news show. So thank you guys so much, and we're just gonna hop right on in to the first question. And this question comes from Javon Morrissey, and he asked, "Hey, what do you think about us picking up Paul Richardson? I think he is much more viable free agent. He won't be a $10 million player. I think we can get him for about $5 or $6 million." So thank you so much for your question, Javon. And guys, forgive me if I sound weird. This flu season is really kicking my butt, but the show must go on. So there's one thing I do want to say about a player like Richardson. He is one of those players that has a high bust potential. And let me tell you what I mean, okay? We all know that he is not an elite receiver, right? And so when you're not an elite receiver, you are subject to the Brady curse, right? And the Brady curse is something when a great quarterback makes you look better than you are. You have to remember, he played with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is a great quarterback and could have made him look better. So it's dependent on the scouts for the Baltimore Ravens to make sure that this young man is really what we think he is, right? If he can be a B-level player in a bigger role, then I think the Ravens should take a chance on him, see what he can do. If he can be that B-level player, because really he's a C-level, and then Russell Wilson made him a B-level, then we don't want that type of player in Baltimore, because we know that our quarterback can't make good players great. I'm sorry, Joe. I do love you, but right now that's just not in Joe's skill set. So he's not a force multiplier, and we need to make sure we vet these receivers that we bring in carefully, right? And the same thing goes for a player like Josh Gordon, right? Does Josh Gordon really have potential, or is he only going to be good if he has a good quarterback? Because Joe Flacco will struggle sometimes, and we need to make sure that the receivers around him can pick him up as much as Joe can pick them up. So I would say that you get him for a cheap price, I'll take it. Again, that is going to have to be our strategy now because of what happened with Jarvis Landry. A lot of people like Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson in Jacksonville was not a star. Sorry to let you guys know he was not a star. Teams did not scheme around him. They schemed around Leonard Fournette. You can watch the Ravens. They said themselves, we got to stop Leonard Fournette, right? No one ever said we had to stop Allen Robinson. Ever. No one has ever said that. So I even think in some ways Allen Hurns may be more dangerous than Robinson. So I would say that look at these B-level players like a Paul Richardson. See if they really are B-level players when they play if they play with a great quarterback, or are they, C-level players that were made a B-level players by Russell Wilson. So that's what I would say. If you believe he is a B-level player, take that chance on him. If you think he's a C-level player that had his game raised, don't be a fool and think that Joe Flacco can do that as well. So thank you so much for your question. And now we're going to go to the next one. And this one comes from Jonathan Ware. And Jonathan asked, with Jarvis Landry receiving a franchise tag and Calvin Ridley most likely getting picked before 16, do you think the Ravens could trade up for Ridley and then work to get Tavon Austin? Thank you again so much for your question, Jonathan. So this is a good example of what I was talking about. We know Tavon Austin is who he is, right? So he's not a great receiver, right? We know that. But we also know that what he showed us on the field is really him, because he didn't play with a great quarterback. And that's just the truth of it, right? Everything that he had to do honestly by himself. He had to break tackles. He had to be in the gadget plays. He had to be the return man. And some people might even say that could hurt him. I wouldn't go that far, but I would say that he is a player that we know who he is. He didn't play with Russell Wilson, so we are not thinking, is he really that good? We don't have that issue. The issue that we're going to have is that it's a crowded market now for receivers, and we're going to have to fight to get him. And you don't want to ever overpay for a receiver like a Tavon Austin. Again, I think he has some injury issues. He can only be really used in the slot. Now he's going to be like a Caponero, really, honestly. So you don't want to overpay for that type of player. Trading up for Calvin Ridley is something that's just not going to happen. And it's just because picks are overvalued in sports. So you'll trade up. And then the thing is, we sometimes think of it as, oh man, Calvin Ridley is a finished player. No, right? You'll trade up, and then you'll find out that Calvin Ridley also needs 4 more years of more work. And if he needs 4 more years of work, like a Bashar Perriman does, right? Like Will did, and then his contract expires and he leaves, well, you wasted those picks that you traded, right? And so, because picks are so overvalued, in order to trade up to get a player, you're going to have to at least give away 2 first-round picks, especially to jump up that high. If you want to get into the top 10, the going rate is 2 first-round picks. That is too high. I don't think that will happen. And so I honestly believe that we won't have a chance to get Calvin Ridley in this draft. So, it's disappointing. I think what we'll do is we'll go look at guys like Tavon Austin, Paul Richardson, Josh Gordon, these B-level receivers, and see if we can pull a team out just like the Eagles did, and hopefully make a strong team instead of a team led by a particular superstar at wide receiver. So now we're going to go to the third question. Thank you so much for your question. And this question comes from Luca, and Luca asked, do you think Derwin James would be a good pick for the Ravens? Thank you so much for your question. You guys don't know, Derwin James is a defensive back from Florida State. I believe he plays mostly safety. Derwin James is a baller. I've done my research, guys, and you guys know I sometimes feel uncomfortable talking about things I don't know in college football. What I do know is that there's 160 teams. They're only 5 elite teams, and I know that Florida State is one of those elite teams. And I know that they have an elite player named Derwin James, and he's a great player. I've done some research on this young man. I hope you guys are proud of me. The guy can ball. The guy can flat out ball. The issue is there is no space for him on this team. And if you're going to spend your first round pick on a player, I really believe they have to be a contributor. And this is why I was down on the Marlon Humphrey pick. Ozzie was right on that one. I was wrong on that one. But all in all, I still think the philosophy is true. Okay. If Marlon Humphrey didn't play this year, I would have called that a wasted pick. Again, these players, the draft picks are 4-year things, right? If you think past 4 years, that might be a mistake. So is he going to be able to make a contribution for the Ravens? No. Eric Weddle, Tony Jefferson, you pay them too much money to put a rookie in front of them. I'm sorry, you just can't do that in this day and age anymore. You can't take that chance. I would say that he's a great player. He is not the right fit for the Ravens, but I know he'll be a good player for another team because the Ravens decided to go free agency at that safety position and not the draft a couple of years ago. So, good player, not the great right fit for the Baltimore Ravens. Now we're going to the last question. And remember, guys, if you want your question on the show, please drop it in the comments below. And this question comes from Webby Boosie. And he asked, should the Ravens draft Bo Scarbrough? And now this one I feel a lot of confidence in. I didn't really need any research for this one because I do watch Alabama. They're the best team in football, usually on a yearly basis. And I would say, no, you can't draft this running back. Again, there's only one running back in this draft that you can draft in the first round, in my opinion, and feel good about, and that's Saquon Barkley. Saquon is a very, 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 very talented player, and in order to be drafted at the running back position in the NFL, you got to be one of the best, right? You know, you got to be great. Got to be Ezekiel Elliott. You got to be the young man in Fournette, young man in Jacksonville. You got to be one of those great players that can carry the ball, 30 times a game. I don't think Bo is that player. He's going to be a player that's going to have a hard time adjusting to the NFL. It took Mark Ingram a couple years to get adjusted, right? Alabama running backs, it takes them a while to get adjusted because usually they're not stronger than NFL players, but they were stronger than college players, so they look great. And when you're not faster than an NFL player, not stronger than an NFL player, right? Defenses are going to eat you up, right? And it took Mark Ingram a long time to get that adjusted. That's why Mark Ingram has transformed more into a big zone runner, right? It is the way the NFL works. So I don't think Bo is the right pick for the Ravens. I think the Ravens are heading into this next season confident in the running backs they have. I think they're going confident into the scheme that they have. I think that they know that their issue isn't really running back, it's offensive line, why they couldn't, win some of those games in the early part of the season. So I don't think they're going to go Bo, and I don't think it's a good idea. Bo also has injury issues. I just don't. There's too many things I don't like about him to make him my first round pick as a running back. Running back is a devalued position in the NFL. Again, the best running backs in this league don't have Super Bowl championships, and there's a reason, because they're only responsible for about 20% of the production on the team. So when you draft one, you got to know he's a star so you can up that production level, right? There's a reason why Ezekiel Elliott, Le'Veon Bell, and all these other great running backs don't have rings, and teams like the Eagles and the Patriots, and the Panthers and the Broncos, and the Seahawks, teams that don't really have a running game, don't have running backs that can dominate, but have quarterbacks that can dominate, so to draft a running back high when there's a direct correlation of running backs don't win championships would be problematic, especially with a guy like Bo who has so many issues and problems. That is the end of the show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please, if you disagree, put it in the comment section below. Call me stupid, call me smart, call me whatever you want to call me. I don't mind. So drop your questions and drop your comments in the comment section below. Please subscribe to Raven Space on YouTube. It is the best place for Baltimore Ravens analysis and news. Thank you guys so much, and go Ravens.